And next on Irish Radio International, it's Cork Matters with Dr. Lill.
Good evening and welcome to Irish Radio International on Cork Matters, and it's Dr. Lill tonight with Frank and myself. We've amazing... are you okay there?
I am, yeah. I'm just after a bit of a heavy workout there, and I'm completely shattered now here. I'm trying to get my sugar levels back up. So bear with me, Lill.
You're grand. And we have an amazing guy, Aldous Mina, who's an author of the revolutionary Faceconomics book, which studies the impact of social network on macroeconomics, and founder of the International Business Council at the Liberty University in Lynchburg in Virginia. And we also have Ron Shank, our American correspondent, and Ethan O'Leary, our London correspondent, who will be on later. So we're going to head straight over to Aldous. How are you, Aldous? Are you with us there?
Yes, hi, I'm good. Thank you, Lillian, for having me. And hello, everyone there in Ireland. I've always been fascinated with that country, and it's always been near to my heart. So I'm glad that I actually get to live my childhood fantasy, being able to address the Irish Republic. Thanks for having me.
It's an actual honour to have our first diplomat on the show, Aldous.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm kind of on the midpoint of that title, but I think I do appreciate the time that I'm able to have and talk a little bit about the book.
Yes, listen, so for our audience outside, your life, it has been an amazing success in the area of economic development. Like, where did all this begin?
Well, I actually started back when I was still a little toddler, when I was a young boy, when I would collect foreign currencies from abroad, and I would just want to know a little bit about, where it originated from, what is the purchasing power behind the currency, and then it's just like a hobby for me that got me all started that way. And that was back when I was 10 years old, and I just kind of gotten involved with various volunteer projects and started participating in foreign affairs. As a young kid, I was participating in the Model United Nations Society when I was in high school, and I just kind of, rolled into a more heavy economic development type of career later on after college. When I was in school and college at Liberty, I actually was the founder of the International Business Council there, and I led it, and we would participate in various economic development activities in Washington, D.C., meeting with ambassadors and diplomats there, learning about their initiatives in their respective countries. And kind of learn how they're, engaging the world community in terms of economic development, foreign direct investment, expatriate, regional integration, and various import-export type of initiatives. So that's how we got started. Soon after that, actually, when I was still in school, I was also volunteering with the state of Virginia under the governor's office with the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, on helping U.S.-based companies to reach overseas market through market entry. So we would advise companies on first-to-market or new-to-market initiatives on how to engage foreign, countries and be able to, do business in those countries.
Yes, and like that's amazing that you started at 10 years of age, because going in through all the currencies and looking at all the values of it, that probably started you off kind of it would even start kind of like trading, and your line of work with the history of the connections that you have, and that you kind of hit the top of your field in working in the United States federal government and the World Bank. That must have been amazing. And can you, has your connection with all above, do you think that it has changed your views on global economics and, like, say, the difference in structure and strategies to be changed in each country?
I think that's a good question, actually. I think not until just recently that things are kind of evolve into a very much more dynamic in nature in terms of trade and economic development worldwide. I think the reason substantially is because back then when we talk about economic development, especially before the late 1990s. Economic development was done predominantly by advanced economies, advanced countries that are kind of just shooting out aid or financial aid to developing countries, frontier markets out there. And I think there's been a rapid change in the way economic development is being approached today, specifically with social media and the advances in technology and communication. I think, relatively speaking, a lot of these emerging markets and frontier markets throughout the world are gaining much more of a knowledge-based exposure to economic development via social media or technology, and it enhances their capacity to develop their institutions and develop their economies on their own. So to answer your question, there has been a lot of changes in economic development and the approach to economic development just recently. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the other thing is that, can you tell me about the Premier Global Council Group?
Yeah, the Premier Global Council Group is a consulting network that I developed back in 2010, and what we do is just help companies, small, medium-sized enterprises, to learn a little bit more about international trade, foreign direct investment, learning about market entry, how to engage in a new market, how to work in a foreign market, finding partners, finding logistic providers, working with local governments, city councils, embassies in various countries. So a good portion of what we do is pretty much set up the picture for a new to market or an individual business decision maker that is fairly new to international trade or international business. So that's what we specialize in.
And can say you have collaborated with the IMF in Romania, using the Face Economy platform, which we'll discuss later on. What have you learned within the initiative to use social media as a public service platform?
Well, actually, and that's what makes it so interesting today, that these are organizations like the IMF, the World Bank, OSCD, the EBRD, European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. They have been in history operating in the class of the well-informed elite bodies of society, and they've been pretty much working among themselves and kind of I don't know if they've done it intentionally, but they kind of left the public out. And today, because of social media and the faceconomics concept, it serves as a bridge between those institutions and the common person on the street, and in that and it's not getting to the point that they're inundated with too much information, but they're actually getting exposure to these institutions, which makes it a little bit more user friendly. And when I collaborated with IMF last year, we used the faceconomic concept as a stepping stone, just to get the public interested about their initiatives in various countries, how they're communicating their strategies, how regular individuals and students would be able to learn a little bit more about their initiative and understand why they're doing things the way they do them, and be able to communicate with them through interaction with their social media platforms. So that's what makes things so interesting today. And the evolution of economics is also it's just happening so rapidly right now that the macro and macroeconomics is coming into a fuse of users in the social media realm, where developing a local market is just as simple now as developing an international market. So I think that's where it boils down to. I think that's the whole idea behind faceconomics and how we're engaging the world community today in development. It's in lightning speed, and it's it's a content-driven type of engagement.
Yeah, I like the fact that you have countries that, without social media, they would have taken way longer to develop. And could you just give our listeners a small idea of Romania? How economically developed is it?
Right now, Romania is a developing country. It is in transition into developing much more robustly and rapidly. I know that they've been increasing their potential, and they've just recently joined the EU system, which is back in 2007. So they've made a lot of very sound and I think market-driven type of initiatives that is going to help them develop further and improve their economic standing within the EU and also within the world community. And I'm truly happy to be able to be a part of that and be able to contribute in that development process for the country itself.
And kind of Australia and the Germans and the US and Italy seem to be the people that have mostly invested in the country. Do you think that it is a kind of an open canvas, or would you advise, say, somebody with money or a company to invest in the country? Do you think it would be a good move?
Depending what it is, their initial strategy, yes. There are investors, foreign direct investors that are entering the market, and there are, local businesses that are, developing themselves. They're organizing themselves as a group and, creating market, sustainable market improvement. So I think that in itself would rely on what is the initial objective of the investor that is coming and looking at the market and looking to have some sort of platform in the local market. That really depends on what their long-term, short-term mission is.
So for our audience out there, you're an amazing person because you have so many ideas, and you're an author as well. And the book is called Faceconomics. It discusses the powerful force of social media, with reference to international business and foreign policy and economic development and trade and commerce. Can you give us a kind of an idea, or can you define Faceconomics?
I started the book concept back in 2006, and at that time, the social media platform was predominantly used for, engaging people within a certain demographics, the younger population, college-age people. And so at that point, I was leading the International Business Council at my university, at Liberty University, and I kind of wanted to learn more about the platform, how it's going to evolve, and how it's going to make things for life easier on people that are gaining information through it. So I started drafting, the concept in 2006, and then there wasn't a whole lot happening via social media at that point. So I was like, okay, well, I think I'm going to put this off until I see some heavy content being produced. So I, picked up, the material from time to time and just kind of jot down what the things that I've observed via, interaction, research, what I hear on the news, what people tell me, and so that's how it evolved. And I actually got into the tail end of the project back in 2010 and finished it off in 2011. So it took a couple of years before I was able to really complete the book, just because there wasn't a whole lot of content. But not until maybe in 2008, 2009, where social media is becoming more engaged in economic development, where most people weren't they weren't so interested, or maybe they just didn't know what was going on. But I noticed that they were more heavy on marketing, heavy on international affairs, and there's been a lot of content that's being promoted via current bursts on news. So that got me to think, maybe I should finish off the project on this book so that I can share it with the world based on what it is changed, in economics and the substance of economics. So I finished it off in 2012, and then I published it in 2012. I finished the book 2011. I published 2012, and then I started promoting it late 2012 into 2013 and 14 and today. So there's been a lot of changes on the application of social media today that isn't being talked about. There are books that have looked into social media and tried to study the marketing concept behind social media, and the reach of social media in geopolitics, the reach of social media via international affairs. But there isn't any book on social media that promotes macro and microeconomic development. And so faceconomics is a very different concept. It's a unique concept because it fused the reach of macro and microeconomics together, where the world is now able to learn from it, and it's much more consistent. It's easy to interact with, and frankly, I think people prefer to do communication via social media nowadays versus the traditional method of communication via either phone conversation or telegrams, fax. So I think the evolution of economics happened when social media got into the scene. So that's how faceconomics was developed.
Yeah, I have about 25 more questions, but I'm actually looking at the time, and I was going to ask you about, what, the government and the Chamber of Commerce, all these agencies, they are trying to join, say, the US and Europe and bring people, say, even the Chamber of Commerce here in Ireland, people to recognise markets in Asia and China and all these places. Like yourself, your faceconomics is a kind of a bridge joining people, the US and Europe. Like, Aldous, what are you doing differently? And why you? Say, if I wanted to go to somebody now, why would I go to you?
Well, I don't know specifically what that objective of the individuals would want to come to me about. I do know that if they choose to come to me, they would be exposed to a very different dimension of economic development thinking, a very different approach to market entry, international business, foreign affairs. And I think I can persuade anyone in terms of the traditional values in micro and macro development, in conjunction to, Hayek's or, Marx's approach on all of these social subjects. I think why I'm so engaged and so excited about the faceconomic concept is because it's never been done ever in history of humankind. Not once did people from different race, religion, language, culture, nationality, whatever background is able to communicate so simultaneously and so openly now in today's world. I mean, this is something that no one or have ever been exposed to ever in human history. And that's what makes me so excited about it, because I've seen so much changes happening in just the last couple of years because of social media. And therefore I wanted to share it. I wanted to share it with you guys there in Ireland.
But outside that, we're so happy to have you on, and the information and the amazing encyclopedic brain that you have. If there's such a word or such a phrase that you have all the experience in all the areas that people would love to be mentored by you. But listen, a little bird told me that you are a very good violinist, and that your bucket list is that you would like to sing and in the awards and win an award for country music. Tell me about this. Where did this come from? Well, I think.
Yeah, I know we've been chatting via Facebook. So, but actually, like I said before, when we were chatting online, I think I might have been, I might have been an Irish person on my previous life, because I really am fascinated with Irish culture, music. I'm not that good with playing my fiddle. I've started playing with an orchestra when I was back, 12 years old, 13. But I just play it, to calm me down, to just take out the stress or whatever. And I really enjoy playing, my violin. I do go to antique stores and look for antique violins as a hobby. So I just, I like the instrument itself. Pertaining to wanting to sing at the Irish, at the
you could
Country
come over
Music
here
Awards.
when you
the
come over
Country
here.
Music Award. You know what? That's an interesting question, because I never really formulated a really good enough reason to really want to sing there. But I think what made that Country Music Award so fascinating to me is just because of the characters of each individual. People performing in it. I think they all have a very fascinating character, and I think, if people are openly and ready to accept everyone and every character and every personalities out there, I think we'd all, kind of learn from each other a bit more better. And I think the social media platform is providing that bridge now to us. So I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to engage the country music folks. And learn,
Aldous,
learn about them. Yeah.
When you come over and, when we have our conference and you're coming over to, speak to all of us over here, you can come over and you can go on the stage with me and we can sing. We learn a song before you come over and we can sing on the stage and we'll give you an award.
Are you serious? Well, you know what? I was actually trying to learn, the Celtic dance move. And I spooked my dog while I was trying to dance,
Who hit the dog?
Flattery. Yeah, I was trying to do the Irish Celtic dance, and my dog started barking at me. I think she thought I was, becoming epileptic or something.
Oh, for God's sake.
Really love that. Like I said, I just need a good reason to make it back to Ireland. I love Shannon. I love Ring of Kerry when I was there.
It's beautiful. Yes, Ireland is really beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And I made out with the Blarney Stone, and that's probably why I couldn't stop talking.
I was probably there because we had the photographic rights of the Blarney Stone for years.
Probably. But yeah, I did visit the Blarney Stone, and I was fascinated by the history. It's just an amazing, country, and I think, it's just amazing how Ireland is well known throughout the world, and I think the culture is so profound and so rich that I wish that everybody would know more about, the Irish society. I'm fascinated with the Irish American community back home. They taught me a lot. They mentored me. Every time there's a St. Patrick's Day parade, I'm the only one that doesn't look Irish, but I'm there.
But yes, we're scattered all over the world, and I think it's kind of like it's a mythical country, isn't it? But listen, Aldous, before you actually leave, because I know that due to the fact that you have so much information and background on things, for anybody out there, I suppose dealing with business, foreign policy, or economic development, or trade and commerce. Could you tell us anything at all about what happened in the Wall Street crash yesterday? It wasn't a crash; it was just a few hours. I know was at 11:30 until 3:30. Was that a technical problem, or was it? Did somebody hack the system, or what? Do you know?
No, it's really hard to say. I think it was a glitch. Personally, those things do happen, especially when you're operating in a very big technology environment. The U.S. has got so much, processors and various computer environments there that it sometimes, glitches do happen. And I think that's all there is to it.
Yeah, that's
it's hard to really say if there's anything that, a rogue individual or a rogue society wanted to infiltrate into our systems there. But, it's still pretty early. They haven't finished the investigation yet, so maybe something would pop up. Who knows?
Well, thank God, it was only 1.5% down in America, wasn't it? But China and wasn't it Europe kind of suffered more. The last thing, what about Greece? Tell us about Greece. What do you think about Greece? And, it's only, what is it, 60 £60 in it or something, euro, that they're allowed to take out. €60. Do you hear me? I'm back in pounds. 60
€60 per a day. It's I think the issue with Greece right now is they're having to deal with, I guess the debt issue of the country, where they're having to work with their fiscal policy and monetary policy of the EU. So they're kind of caught in between a banking system that is being provided funding by the ECB, and they're having to they're having to adjust on their quality of life in order for them to pay down their debt. And in a society that there's a good size of population where many of them are pensioners or people that are rely on government benefits, it's a really big struggle on them. But their economic, transition is kind of, what took place similar to, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, and Italy. But the difference was, those four countries were actually able to get out of debt, and the Greece, unfortunately weren't able to pay down their debt. Instead, they borrowed more. So that's just my take. It's still a long shot for, I think, the EC, the European Council, and the Germans to decide whether, what sort of approach they're looking to take. We do pay attention, to what's going on back home in the States. I'm pretty sure a lot of our economists and financial institutions in the States are paying attention to what's going on in China and in Greece. But I think, I'm hoping anyway that they'll find a solution to it, because there's a big crisis that, their tourism industry in Greece is going to get affected. Their unemployment rate right now, I think it's a little bit over 27%, and majority of their
Aldous, sorry for interrupting you, but I have run over time for my other guests there. Listen, for our audience, it's admina at liberty.edu, isn't that right? And if they want to contact you, to please look up your book.
Actually, Aldous at Gmail. Aldous at Gmail. I no longer use that email address. Aldous.mina@gmail.
Okay, and for our audience, please purchase Aldous's book, Faceconomics, and I think that every single company in the country, if you are listening, and we will be putting out that podcast around tomorrow to different companies, and I think that you should contact Aldous, because he would be a fantastic mentor and also a great connection if you want to do any global trading. So on that point, Aldous, I thank you so much for coming on and giving us all the advice, and I look forward to chatting to you during the week.
Same here, Lillian. Thanks, Cork Matters, for having me, and thank you to the Irish people for listening in. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aldous. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Wow, what an insight on the world economics and politics. So it's a great asset, I'm learning so much on this show, I'm telling you, Lill. Let's gonna play some music for our break, before we go into who?
Ron or Ethan, is it?
Yeah.
I love listening to Irish Radio International.
I wish I was a guru. What does a guru look like? We sometimes, I think, undervalue the level of learning and the subtlety of the learning that we do in Toastmasters.
Sharon, that's brilliant. You're after giving some lovely tips. This is the talk show for Toastmasters and would-be Toastmasters. Now, if you've ever wondered what Toastmasters is all about, this is the show to listen to.
Tune in at 8 p.m. every Wednesday for the Talk Show for Talkers with Ted Menanfi and Sharon O'Neill.
Back to Irish Radio International and Cork Matters, and it's Dr. Lill and Frank here, our producer. That was amazing. That was with
That
Aldous.
was a great insight, I'm telling you.
He was absolutely outstanding. So next we have Ron. Ron, are you with us?
I'm with you.
Well,
I missed